Hey guys, got a little tutorial video for you today. So someone on my Planet Minecraft page called Blue Moon 1244 asked for a tutorial on this randomizer that I used in my last big build. So I'll be going over that, show you how it works and what it accomplishes, and then I'll go into an in-depth Redstone tutorial on how to make it and why it works. Alright, back in my Redstone world now. As you can see, I've moved the entire contraption from the main map over here. So what this randomizer was supposed to accomplish is every time an input pulse was put in, it would output from a single one of these lines, and it would keep that line on until all of them turned on, and then it would reset itself. And of course you can turn those constant on-off signals into pulses just by adding a pulse limiter. So let's see it in action real quick. Press it once, and there's a 50-50% chance for each one of these to activate or not activate. And if one doesn't activate, then it goes on to the next one, and so on and so on and so on. It will skip over already activated ones and continue going on to the next ones. And the reason for the 50-50% chance of activation is by this dispenser. So as you can see, there are 4 orange wools and 4 arrows. So that there's a 50% chance that an arrow will just hit into this glass block and that'll just have nothing happen. But if one of the orange wool blocks falls through this pressure plate, then it will activate this RS NOR latch here and switch it. So there's a 50-50% chance because of that. But if you want to change the percentages, all you have to do is just change things in here. So I could add another orange block, say, and now it's a 6 out of 9 chance that the RS NOR latch will activate. Or sorry, a 5 out of 9 chance. I apologize. So it's a pretty simple system. As you can see, it went to the next one. That one also activated. Now, because it's 50-50, it's more likely that that the first ones will activate before the last ones. As you can see with that one, that pulse that I gave in, it went past all 4 of these blocks before it finally activated this one. So the major drawback of this randomizer, as you can tell, is that it's slow. Now, that was perfectly fine for the map that I made this for, and it works great when you want it to, or when the map is designed correctly. It works great, especially when there's not a really big time limit. As you can see, it activated that one right there. One of the nice parts about this design is that when you send in the pulse, it'll go all the way to the next one possible to be activated and just skip over all the ones that it already did, which is a nice way to speed it up, and it helps a bunch. However, when I started making this map, I realized there was a major flaw with this original design here. Since one of the ways that it skips over the ones that are already activated, so say this one isn't activated, let's just switch that one again. So what happens when we press a button is the signal will go all the way to this block here. It'll activate that line, it'll attempt to randomize, and if it fails, then it'll go on to the next one. But since these next ones are already activated, instead of going around the main normal activation loop, it'll go through this back pathway, and that'll give it a much quicker way to go through them. See, these pistons are up, so it'll just come down here and activate this right here, so it'll skip over all of them. But then when it got to this next one here, it would activate it, and then it would go up here and continue through this line. But but the problem that would happen is this dispenser would not end up being activated. So that would mean that this piston had no chance of ever no chance of ever activating on its own. So when it created loops like that, it would end up never activating, which is bad. Now if we see, it can keep going. Might work. It might eventually loop if possible. Yeah, see, so it got up there. Anyway, I have redesigned it so it's a bunch smaller now. It is 1 block longer, but it's 4 blocks shorter. So it's way smaller. And I also fixed that problem that I was just showing you. And instead of using these torches as a way to ripple them across really quickly, it now uses the repeater locking system, so it's much, much faster in that regard, as you can see right here. And it's really simple. Now, as with that one, it's a tileable design, so you have two different kind of sets. Each one is only 2 blocks wide, and you just put them next to each other in a checkered way, and that will allow them to be really compact and one next to each other like this. So this one works the same way, as you can see. Fairly simple. It's a bit faster than that one for the main loops, and a lot faster for the ripple. So go on like that and so on. Of course, you can still edit or change the percentages based on what you put in here. Let's see if it goes. You'll see if this one turns on, then it's rippling, but it didn't. So they all turned on and then it reset itself. So now let's go into the individual redstone tutorials for both of these pieces. I'll go over how it works, pretty much block by block, how everything is accomplished. So that's pretty much all for the explanation. I'll go into how the redstone actually works. Okay, so now to the actual redstone. As you can see, both pieces are only 2 wide. However, some parts of each piece will interchange onto the other piece. But let's get started with the main input for now. So the input comes from this blue line here, and when the redstone line is activated, it will either go to the rest of this blue line, or if this piece isn't activated, like this one is, then it will hit this block here, and instead of the redstone line going to the rest of the blue line, it will divert down this redstone repeater. So now that the redstone has activated here, it will activate this dispenser, and that holds the orange wool and the arrows, which you can change based on what percentage chance you want this to output. And then, so if it shoots an arrow, it'll just shoot into this half sub here and nothing will happen. If it shoots a block, then it will fall onto this pressure plate right here, go into this block, and then switch this RS NOR latch right here. And all that means is that this redstone torch will turn off and this redstone torch will turn on. So it just switches. So the other part that happens is when after the dispenser is activated, it will also send a pulse through here. It will go through this sand and up and around to right here after a delay. And this delay is so that the dispenser can activate and either turn on or stay the same. So that gives it enough time to do that. It will go into this block, fall through onto this redstone here, and then from there it will take this redstone repeater over to this block right here. Or, I'm sorry, this block right here. And then, so if it goes all the way through without activating, then the redstone pulse will have gone through this block and activated the next one. So that's fairly simple how that works. Now covering the purple line, it comes off of the redstone RS NOR latch here. So the top part, it either activates the main input or deactivates it when it's on. So it'll take all these pistons away once it's already been activated, so it can't loop around the normal way. And it also switches these pistons here, which will mean it will now ripple instead of going the long way. So how that works is, first of all, it stops the redstone line from going up here. That's fairly simple. Secondly, it moves this piston down, which stops this dispenser from activating anymore. And what that does is, since we have the repeaters from the next one or the earlier one in line going into there, if it ripples and hits this block here, the redstone there will activate, but then because this block is gone, it will not be able to move through this repeater and activate the dispenser again. Now the third thing it does, also from this bottom purple line, is it switches the redstone torch output here, and so once it turns on, it'll unlock this repeater. And what that allows it to do is it allows it to ripple through the back, and that makes it so it quickly skips over already activated ones and goes on to the next unactivated piece. So that makes it move through really quickly. So this would be the next part of the next piece, and it would just continue to go through like that. So it's a fairly simple design. It's a bit big, I admit, but it works and it serves its purpose. These redstone lines on the back here are just made for the ability to loop. So when the outputs come off of this last one in line, they just go all the way back around and activate this one. So it's a simple way to make it loop. So those are for this redstone line, as shown over there, just heads into this one here. And so once all of the RS NOR latches turn off, then it will switch the outputs here and reset all the RS NOR latches once again. And that's why it reset over here once all of them activated. Okay, now going into the differences. So this is the second design. As you can see, it's one block shorter, so instead of taking up all that room for the extra repeater and all that, it's a bit smaller, which is nice. Now, the only difference with this one, it still has the main repeater lock system and timer and whatnot, is the delivery to the next piece in line via the long route. So instead of going into a block with a redstone repeater coming off of it, it goes into this little torch line, I guess. So once the long one activates, it will activate this redstone, which will switch this off, and then this torch right here, which goes into the next one over here. So normally this would activate the redstone right here. There would be a repeater on, a redstone torch on that block, and that'll usually be off because as it is here, and that'll activate the next line and so on. Anyway, so that's pretty much how it works. There's not much else to go over it. I'll give you a quick still shot of both of them so you can see what you need to build it. That should be all you need of that. And then the other side. Then for this one as well. And the other side. So it really is a fairly simple design. The major drawbacks, of course, are that it's slow, so keep that in mind when you're making anything with this. However, it is extremely reliable now that I fixed the bug that came with the original design. So I hope you guys enjoy. And Blue Moon 1244, I hope this satisfied your tutorial wants. Anyway, see you guys next time.